Imagine a state within a state, with its own laws, its own economy, its own language, its own cities, and its own millions of people who could never leave. This is not a metaphor. This is the Gulag, a system through which between 13 and 18 million people passed, a system that built cities, mined gold, dug canals, and laid railways, with the hands of people imprisoned for telling a joke, for being late to work, for a neighbor's denunciation. Today, how it worked, from the first camp to the last. 1923, the Russian North, the Solovetsky Islands. An ancient monastery founded in the 15th century, white walls, silence, seagulls over the water. The Bolsheviks arrive in 1920. The monks are expelled, their property is confiscated, and in the monastery's cells, the first Soviet camp is established. SLON, the Solovetsky Special Purpose Camp. The first prisoners were political detainees, White Army officers, socialist revolutionaries, Mensheviks, noblemen. At first, almost bearable. No forced labor, conditions after the Moscow prison seemed tolerable. But very soon, everything changed. Alexander Nogtev, the first commandant of the Solovetsky camp, according to prisoner accounts, an alcoholic and a sadist. When drunk, he personally killed any prisoner who happened to cross his path, for no reason at all, because he could. In 1939, he was arrested himself for failing to meet the timber quota. He died in the Norilsk camp. The Gulag devoured its own creators. In 1924, a new prisoner arrived at the camp, Naftali Frankel. Before the revolution, a timber merchant. After it, a smuggler, arrested, sentenced to death, pardoned, sent to the Solovetsky Islands. And this man, a prisoner, transformed the entire Gulag system. His idea was simple and monstrous in equal measure. He divided all prisoners into 3 groups: those capable of heavy labor, those capable of light labor, the disabled. Each group received an assignment, and food depending on whether they met their quota. First category, 800 grams of bread and 80 grams of meat per day. Third category, half that. And the quotas were deliberately set above what most people could achieve. The logic was iron. The strong work more, eat more, grow stronger still. The weak eat less, grow weaker, fall ill, die. The weak are eliminated naturally. No executions, no extra expense, just hunger and work. The state recognized the genius of this scheme. By 1929, Frankel headed the Gulag's Moscow office. He oversaw the construction of the Baikal-Amur Railway. He survived the Great Terror. He died in 1960 with the rank of Lieutenant General of the NKVD. In 1929, Stalin announces the first 5-year plan. Industrial output must grow by 20% every year, every single year. Workers are needed, many of them, cheaply, preferably for free. And here Stalin arrives at an idea. The camps exist. The prisoners exist. Why not use them to build the country? From 1929 onward, the Gulag transforms from a place of detention into an economic engine. Prisoners are sent to places no free person would ever go willingly, to Kolyma, to Vorkuta, to Yakutia, to the Kazakh steppe. There, gold, coal, oil, timber. There, 60-degree frosts, clouds of mosquitoes, swamps, no civilization whatsoever. The perfect place for people who have nowhere to run. Listen to what the guards did at Solovetsky. In winter, they tied prisoners up and left them on the bell tower in a single layer of clothing. In summer, they stripped a man naked, tied him to a tree on the riverbank, and waited for clouds of mosquitoes to bite him into unconsciousness. They forced prisoners to sit motionless for 18 hours on narrow benches. They marched them naked to the bathhouse through the frost. This was not the work of isolated sadists. This was a system. You might assume only enemies of the state. No, in 1932, a law was passed that prisoners called the Law of Five Stalks. If a peasant picked up a few fallen ears of wheat from a collective farm field, a prison sentence, up to 10 years in the camps. In 1940, being 20 minutes late for work became a criminal offense. Telling a joke about Stalin, 10 years. A careless word in conversation, a neighbor's denunciation, arrest. By the late 1930s, camps were scattered across the entire country. By 1950, the Gulag held 2,561,000 people at the same time. In 1931, Stalin announces the construction of the White Sea Canal. The deadline, 20 months, the length, 227 kilometers, through the rocks and swamps of the Russian north. Specialized equipment? None. Prisoners dig with their bare hands, wheelbarrows, shovels, pickaxes. In 60-degree frost, the canal was completed in 20 months. The price? Thousands of lives. The Soviet press was jubilant. Maxim Gorky came on a tour and wrote a rapturous report. The canal turned out to be too shallow for large vessels, but no one cared. What mattered was showing the world that the Soviet system worked. Built by prisoners, cities that still exist today. Vorkuta, Magadan, Norilsk, cities born inside the Gulag. 1941, the country is at war. Food is scarce everywhere, at the front, in the rear, and in the camps. That year, 352,560 people died inside the Gulag. Nearly 25% of all prisoners, 1 in 4, in a single year. These people did not die from bullets, not from torture, from hunger, from cold, from disease. They simply stopped living. 1953, Stalin has been dead for 3 months. In the Kengir camp in Kazakhstan, a revolt breaks out. Prisoners seize control of the camp. They expel the guards. They demolish the punishment block. And here, something extraordinary happens. Instead of chaos and violence, the prisoners organize normal life. A negotiating committee, food distribution, cleaning rotas. A former count named Babrinsky opens something resembling a cafe with entertainment. Prisoner priests conduct wedding ceremonies. People whom the state had reduced to numbered uniforms suddenly become human beings again. This lasts for 40 days. Then the tanks arrive. In 90 minutes, hundreds of people are killed. Some are crushed under tracks, others are shot in the steppe. The uprising is crushed. Do you know where the Russian words for chaos, danger, bribery, and con artist come from? From the Gulag. Camp slang penetrated everyday speech so deeply that most people have no idea where these words originated. The language born behind barbed wire became the language of the street, and then the language of an entire country. March 5, 1953, Stalin dies. 3 weeks later, Beria, that same Beria, submits a memorandum to the CC. The message: the system is inefficient. Over 1 million people should be released. March 27, 1953, amnesty. Not everyone is freed, but the process has begun. In 1960, the Gulag is officially dissolved. But the cities remained. Magadan remained. Norilsk remained. Vorkuta remained. Cities built by people imprisoned for telling a joke, for being late to work, for a neighbor's denunciation. Between 13 and 18 million people passed through the Gulag. Between 800,000 and 2.7 million died, depending on which estimate you trust. Among them, poets and marshals, scientists and peasants, thieves and priests. The Gulag was not simply a punishment system. It was a mirror in which the Soviet state revealed what it truly was worth. And that reflection has not disappeared to this day.